What's up, everybody? Welcome back to our countdown of the top 100 movies from the 1990s, where nostalgia meets neon and every entry is a blast from the VHS past. This lineup we're about to get into proves the 90s were firing on all cinematic cylinders, whether you're here for the sports underdog stories, the political thrillers, party-starting comedies, or terrifying urban legends. There's something here for every movie lover who lived or wished they had lived through one of the most spectacular decades in cinema. In this episode, we're diving into the movies I have ranked 81 through 90, what I think is a wildly entertaining collection of movies that are just packed with explosive action, iconic romances, hard-hitting drama, and a whole lot of style. So grab your pager, cue the mixtape, and let's hit play on more unforgettable gems from the 90s. In House Party, Reginald Hudlin would let Kid and Play throw the ultimate teenage bash, complete with dance battles, awkward teen romance, parent dodging, high school bullies, and high top fade excellence in a hip-hop comedy that's all about the fun, the music, the friends, and of course the footwork. Now, House Party is what happens when you mix dance battles with parental disobedience and peak 90s fashion into one wild, feel-good night of fun. This comedy has the simplest of blueprints. Play wants to throw the ultimate party. Kid wants to go, but he's grounded by his hilariously furious dad, played by the late, great Robin Harris. Cue the stealth mission, a fun, high-energy journey through the neighborhood and a party so iconic it features an all-time dance battle that still gets referenced to this day. Kid's towering high-top fade is a character in itself, and Play brings the smooth talk, the swagger, and more than a few just hilariously questionable pickup lines. I love Martin Lawrence in this movie. He's just full manic energy mode here as the DJ with zero filter and dragon breath for days, while Full Force plays the least intimidating bullies that you've ever seen in crop tops and Jordans. The humor here ranges from slapstick to snarky to surreal to clever at times, but I think underneath all the laughs, House Party captures just the essence of youthful teen freedom and community. It's not just about a party, it's about that feeling of being young and wild and just cool enough to get away with it. The soundtrack is loaded with jams, the fashion is outrageous in the best of ways, the chemistry between Kid and Play just gives the whole thing an effortlessly laid-back charm. House Party isn't just a time capsule, I think it's a cultural landmark, and nearly 35 years later, it still knows how to get the whole room dancing. John Woo would set the screen ablaze in Hard Boiled, an operatic Hong Kong action blitz starring Chow Yun-fat as a no-nonsense cop with a collection of pistols and more bullets than dialogue, in a movie that just helped redefine the action genre mayhem. John Woo's Hard Boiled, to me, is just a beautiful mashup of slow-motion bullets, jazz solos, and unfiltered cool. I mean, released at the height of Hong Kong action cinema, this gem stars Chow Yun-fat as Tequila. He's a cop who plays his clarinet at night in the club and dual wields his pistols during the day. The plot here, honestly, it doesn't really matter. There's some stuff about arms dealers. There's an undercover cop played by Tony Leung who's just in peak brooding mode here, and a criminal syndicate as well that's operating out of this hospital. But to me, the plot in Hard Boiled is really just a loose string that ties together some of the most dazzling and over-the-top action sequences ever filmed. From the tea house shootout at the opening scene, where Tequila's just blowing away dozens of goons while sliding down stair railings, to the film's near 40-minute climax in a maternity ward, Hard Boiled turns just carnage into choreography, into just effortless, elegant violence. It's a gun ballet, there's glass shattering and explosions erupting like kids on prom night. Woo's trademarks are all over this movie. There's doves flying in slow motion, impossible reloads, and characters that stare into each other's souls before unleashing mayhem. I think Chow Yun Fat is perfect here. He's smooth, he's dangerous, and somehow always in the right place with a gun in each hand and a one-liner in his back pocket. This is honestly, though, more than an action movie. I mean, to me, Hard Boiled is kind of like a symphony of destruction, and it plays loudly. I remember stumbling onto this movie one night on cable as a teenager. It blew me away then, and I always looked for it after that. It's always been a movie that stuck with me since. I don't think Hard Boiled just raised the bar for shootouts. I think it somersaulted over it, tossed it up in the air, and then shot it in the face. Nora Ephron's Sleepless in Seattle brings together Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan in a coast-to-coast romance leap of faith where one grieving dad, one curious radio DJ, and one perfectly timed Empire State Building meeting captured the hearts of audiences worldwide. Now, if Sleepless in Seattle doesn't melt the cockles of your heart, then you might be missing cockles altogether. Directed by the great Nora Ephron and starring rom-com royalty Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, this movie practically wrote the blueprint for 90s romance. Hanks here plays Sam Baldwin. He's a grieving widower whose son calls a radio show to help his dad find love again, and the result is, conveniently, women all over the country start falling for Sam's gentle and emotionally available voice. One of those listeners is Meg Ryan's Annie, who becomes so captivated she hops a plane and low-key stalks this man across the country, yet somehow, because it's the movies, we still root for her. It's also because it's Meg Ryan. It was the 90s, and she was basically the human form of romantic hope and perfect hair. Now, to be clear, Sam and Annie only spend about 3 to maybe 4 minutes of actual screen time together. Most of their romance is built on vibes and fate and the firm belief that if something feels right, it more than likely is. It's a love story built around longing and letters and wistful voiceovers. It's basically the prequel to online dating with sweet Empire State Building meetups instead of Tinder swipes. I think Ephron here, though, does balance all the sugar with the wit, and the emotional payoff is somehow enormous despite the minimal direct interaction between these characters, which really is further proof that chemistry doesn't always need dialogue. Sometimes it just needs good writing and a swelling score. This movie used destiny as a plot device and was able to revive the grown-up romance drama. It's sentimental, yes, but it never tips into syrupy. Instead, it kind of taps into the deep universal belief that love, true love, may be out there somewhere, just waiting for you to come along and pick it up and put it in your mouth. Curtis Hanson would dive into the dark and glamorous rot of 1950s Hollywood in LA Confidential, a tangled noir web starring Guy Pearce, Russell Crowe, Kevin Spacey, and Kim Basinger, where every cop has secrets and every smile hides a gun. I've always enjoyed this movie. It's a crime saga that peels back the polished surface of 1950s Los Angeles, and specifically Hollywood and the surrounding areas, just revealing a city full of secrets and sleaze and very bad cops doing very bad things for very good reasons. Our 3 morally murky protagonists in this film are all excellent. You get Guy Pearce as the rulebook worshiper, then you get Russell Crowe as the brooding bruiser, and then you get Kevin Spacey as the slick celebrity cop. I think each do bring their own baggage to this case that involves murder and prostitution in this gossip rag called Hush Hush. I love Danny DeVito here. He narrates like a tabloid gremlin that you can't help but love. I really do think this movie has everything. You get shootouts in nightclubs, double crosses in diners. There's enough plot twists to make a pretzel look straight. It's a movie that's slick and smart and really just perfectly dressed. Kim Basinger in her Oscar-winning role just glides through this movie like a lost Lauren Bacall clone. She's equal parts icy and vulnerable and just fantastic in this character. And while you may need to take some notes on the plot, I think it's all wrapped in just razor-sharp dialogue with smoky lighting and a score that makes you want to pour a bourbon and just stare off moodily into nothing. It's dark, it's deadly, and it's somehow cool as hell. LA Confidential didn't just flirt with greatness, it blackmailed it, it slapped it around, and then walked off with its plush fedora. Say his name 5 times and regret everything. Candyman, directed by Bernard Rose, starring Virginia Madsen and Tony Todd, mixes urban legend with supernatural terror in a haunting tale that slices much deeper than your average surface level slasher. To me, this is easily one of the most haunting, poetic, and strangely seductive horror films from the 90s. Candyman wasn't just a slasher flick, it's like a gothic urban legend thriller just dipped in honey and blood with a hook-handed killer who quotes literature and floats like a ghostly philosopher of pain. Then you get Virginia Madsen, who's fantastic here, as well as Helen. She's this grad student researching urban myths in Chicago's Cabrini Green housing projects. Now, naturally, she's skeptical of the local legend about this vengeful spirit named Candyman, but that's until the bodies start dropping and mirrors start becoming portals to a very bad place. I love Tony Todd in this movie. He's really perfect for the role. He delivers Candyman with just an elegant menace. He's delivering Shakespearean monologues with a voice that could just melt through steel, all while being covered in bees like he's on an episode of Fear Factor. But I think what sets Candyman apart isn't just all the scares, it's really just the atmosphere overall. Philip Glass's eerie score just haunts every frame. The cinematography is dreamlike and hypnotic, and the themes, they hit hard. You get race, gentrification, the exploitation of trauma, and how legends are born and sustained. It's horror with a brain and a beating, bleeding heart. This was always one of my favorite horror movies growing up, hands down. It's always creeped me out more than most horror movies had at the time, and even to this day. And while 90s horror at the time was veering towards meta and teen-driven romps, Candyman was one that dared to be mature and mythic and uncomfortably real. It wasn't a hit on the level of a Freddy or a Jason movie, but I think Candyman did build a legacy all its own, and in my opinion, it's a movie that certainly does earn a permanent place in the Horror Hall of Fame. Robert Rodriguez brings the bullets, the blood, and the guitars to Desperado, a revenge rampage soaked in style with Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, and Danny Trejo, where a mysterious mariachi turns a sleepy town into a blood-soaked south-of-the-border action symphony. To me, Desperado is the cinematic equivalent of a flaming tequila shot. It's loud, it's stylish, it's guaranteed to leave you slightly dizzy, and you'll definitely be ready for round 2. Directed by a then rising Robert Rodriguez, this of course is the sequel to his $7,000 indie hit El Mariachi, but with a bigger budget, more characters, louder guns, and Banderas in full guitar slinging revenge mode. Think spaghetti western by way of MTV. The plot is a revenge tale as old as bullets. A mysterious mariachi played by Banderas rolls into a Mexican town looking to settle a score with a drug lord, and along the way he shreds on his guitar and shoots literally everybody that comes across his path. Salma Hayek shows up as the bookshop owner, who luckily for us gets mixed up in things as well, and I think this movie just has an atmosphere all its own. Rodriguez directs this with just finesse. He salsas with the camera. Gunfights explode into choreographed chaos. Slow motion standoffs are just soaked in cool, and every bar shootout feels like a flamenco of destruction. Steve Buscemi shows up to narrate. Cheech Marin pours some tequila, and Danny Trejo is just throwing knives like an angry chef on a Friday night. Desperado would really mark Rodriguez's arrival as the new prince of pulp in the genre, blending Tarantino-level violence with Latin flair and a DIY filmmaking ethos. It was slick and sexy and stylish at a time when action films were either going full grit or full goofy. More than just a shoot 'em up, though, I think Desperado is just a love letter to mythic heroes and mariachi music, and the idea that your guitar case could also hold an RPG. It's kind of cool without trying. It was dangerous with a wink, and an action gem that still rocks the screen all these years later. Rudy, starring Sean Astin, is the ultimate underdog story where one scrappy kid with no talent, no size, and no quit dares to suit up for Notre Dame and tackles our tear ducts in the process in one of the most memorable sports flicks of all time. Now, if you've ever been told that you're too small, too slow, or just not good enough, then Rudy is your cinematic rally cry. This underdog sports saga follows Daniel Rudy Rudiger, a real-life 5'0" dreamer who dared to take on this Fighting Irish football team armed with nothing but heart, grit, his jockstrap, and a stubborn refusal to quit. I think Sean Astin was fantastic in this movie. He kills this performance as Rudy with just a wide-eyed natural optimism and an unwavering determination that could melt a glacier. He's not a natural athlete. He doesn't have the grades, and his family treats Notre Dame like a church they'll never be allowed into. But Rudy grinds anyways, on the field, in the classroom, and through life's endless fumbles. And yes, will cry, don't fight it. The moment the team lays their jerseys on the desk, brutal. When Rudy finally takes the field, emotional destruction. When the crowd starts chanting, Rudy, Rudy, and Jerry Goldsmith's inspirational score swells, it's game over, dude. Get the Kleenex. I mean, even the coldest of sports fans will be wiping away tears with their foam fingers, because Rudy isn't just football. It's about perseverance, identity, and proving that dreams matter even when they're unlikely. It's a love letter to just long shots and late bloomers, and it doesn't pretend that there are shortcuts along the way. This film became a staple in locker rooms and classrooms across America. Personally, I've always been a scrappy believer, and I've always watched this movie growing up before every season of tryouts as a kid, whether it was basketball, football, or baseball. This isn't a flashy film, but that's the point. Neither was Rudy. In Three Kings, David O. Russell turns the Gulf War into a gritty gold heist with George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, and Ice Cube, where the bullets are real, the humor is dark, and everybody's just trying to survive long enough to split the loot. Three Kings is what happens when a heist movie, a war film, and a politically charged satire all collide in the middle of the desert, and somehow it works like a charm. Directed by David O. Russell before he went full awards bait, this 1999 gem is set during the tail end of the Gulf War and stars George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg, and Ice Cube. They're U.S. soldiers who find a treasure map in the back pocket of a surrendering Iraqi. No, really, this is the Desert Storm version of One-Eyed Willie's Rich Stuff, and Wahlberg, Cube, and Clooney are the commando versions of the Goonies. Their goal to steal Saddam Hussein's hidden stash of gold. Their journey is a descent into the real human cost of war, and it's all wrapped in adrenaline, absurdity, and camera filters that look like they were dipped in motor oil. Clooney plays the world-weary major with a stylish grit. Wahlberg is the young soldier who learns lessons the hard way, and Ice Cube, carrying the quiet cool of someone who doesn't need to raise his voice, just wants to survive so he could say it was a good day. Yet it's Spike Jonze playing a lovable redneck with a malfunctioning moral compass that nearly steals the movie here. What starts as a post-war treasure hunt becomes a biting critique of American intervention, media manipulation, and military bureaucracy, and yet it never forgets to entertain. One minute you're watching a slick shootout, the next minute you're reeling from a gut punch of human drama. Tonally, it's a tightrope walk, and somehow Russell sticks to landing. It's sharp, smart, stylishly subversive. Not many movies make you laugh, think, and sweat in the same scene, but Three Kings is certainly one that does. Oliver Stone cranks the volume to a 12 in Any Given Sunday, a sweaty, snarling football epic starring Al Pacino, Jamie Foxx, Cameron Diaz, and LL Cool J, where every play is war, every locker room is chaos, and every monologue sounds like it came from a recruitment video. Now, Any Given Sunday is Oliver Stone's chaotic and emotionally jacked up Super Bowl of a movie. It's a gridiron epic that tackles football not as a game, but more so as a full contact war for legacy and money and ego and TV ratings. Directed with Stone's signature whiplash editing, turbocharged symbolism, this movie feels less like watching a football game and more like being hit by a linebacker when you're not looking. Yet, for some reason, it's always been one of my favorite football movies. You get Al Pacino as the old school coach of the fictional Miami Sharks. He's a man that's fighting for relevance in a sport that's quickly outpacing his principles. He's clashing with the ambitious new team owner, played by Cameron Diaz. He's babysitting an egomaniac quarterback in Dennis Quaid and trying to wrangle in a wild card backup QB played with a breakout bravado by Jamie Foxx. Behold the origin of Steamin' Willie Beeman, a name you will never forget once it's sung to you in a locker room rap. I mean, this movie is just jammed with everything. It's got hard hits, it's got locker room meltdowns, eye-popping tackles, and more slow-mo than a shampoo commercial. Stone really uses every camera angle known to mankind, often in the same scene. It's gritty, it's loud, it's abrasive, and it's constantly at 150%. There's even a Lawrence Taylor cameo where he plays a dangerously concussed linebacker because subtlety was clearly benched for this movie. And of course, there's the speech. I mean, Pacino's inch by inch locker room monologue is the Rocky Balboa of pet talks. It's overwrought, inspirational, and unforgettable. And Any Given Sunday may not be a traditional football movie or a traditional sports movie, but it's a wild blend of sports and vanity and grit, and it's just a time capsule of Y2K era masculinity, corporate pressure, and on-field carnage. It's messy, it's ambitious, it's totally over the top, kind of like football itself. John Singleton throws college life into a pressure cooker with Higher Learning, a sharp and intense drama starring Omar Epps, Christy Swanson, Ice Cube, and Michael Rappaport, where race, identity, and ideology clash on a volatile campus that's anything but safe. Now, Higher Learning isn't your typical college movie. It's an intense, ambitious drama that drops you into fictional Columbia University and dares you to confront the tough stuff. Race, gender, identity, power, and violence, all swirling just beneath the surface of frat parties and freshman awkwardness. The cast here is just stacked with rising stars from the 90s. Omar Epps plays a talented but frustrated athlete. Christy Swanson plays a sheltered student discovering feminism, and Michael Rappaport plays a lonely, radicalized outsider whose arc takes a deeply unsettling turn. Then you get Lawrence Fishburne channeling equal parts Yoda and James Baldwin as a professor who drops knowledge in a Trinidadian accent that could stop traffic. Singleton isn't subtle here, but that's the point. I mean, this film is bold, it's raw, it's unflinching in its examination of systemic issues bubbling up in America, and especially on college campuses. Racism, sexism, classism, homophobia, white supremacy, it's all here. It hits hard. Some of it feels uncomfortably ahead of its time. Some of it does still sting because much haven't changed. And really, sure, some of it is messy in places. Tone admittedly does wobble a little bit. The symbolism, it can be heavy-handed, and the third act does go full Greek tragedy, but there's also power in that chaos. Singleton aimed high here, and even when the film fumbles, it stumbles with a purpose. Higher Learning may not be your typical 90s coming-of-age tale, but it's a movie that hit hard in the 90s and still lands plenty of punches today. If you want lighthearted school spirit, maybe try Legally Blonde, but if you want to leave campus with something to think about, I think Higher Learning is still a movie that's very much a class in session. And there you have it, guys. That's it for today. 10 more essential 90s movies that I think defined the decade in totally different but equally awesome ways, whether it's the raw power of Any Given Sunday, the slick noir brilliance of LA Confidential, or the unforgettable music from House Party. Every film in this batch brought something fresh, fierce, and just flat out fun to the screen during the 90s. But we're only getting warmer as we inch closer to that top spot. And if you like these picks, if they made you laugh, they made you cry, or made you want to slow motion dive with a couple of pistols, just wait until the next batch of movies. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you don't miss out on the next video covering movies number 71 through 80. It's right around the corner. The 90s train will keep rolling, and it's packed with even more cult classics, heavy hitters, and surprise favorites that you're not going to want to miss.
This is Jack Burton in the Pork Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there.
Survive a war, you gotta become war.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
You trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?